Hello, I'm Martin McConnell, the Public Information Officer for Ascension Parish Government, and we are here with another one of our department profiles. And the department that we are profiling today is our building department, and we have it with us as our special guest, Darren Duplessis. He is the Chief Building Official for Ascension Parish. Welcome,
yes,
Darren. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, we're required to have you by law, you just told me.
Yeah, there is a state requirement that any building department in any jurisdiction must have a chief building official. They're required to be certified through the International Code Council, which is who all of our staff is certified through, from inspectors, plan reviewers. There's a whole list of certifications you can get, but that is a requirement.
So why do we have a building department, Darren?
You're reading a lot of the national books and stuff. It's for the to protect the public's health and safety and their welfare. You know, anywhere from the buildings they're constructing, houses that people are moving into that may have been there for years. Just it's a multitude of different safety precautions that we look for.
It's to protect the public.
Absolutely.
It's to make sure that they are not the victim of an unscrupulous builder, or
correct.
that if they're doing renovations on their own, we need to make
yep.
sure that they're doing them
whether
according to code.
Whether it's a licensed person doing the work or a homeowner who feels that they can do it. Anybody will overlook anything, you know, when you're doing a project. So just having an extra set of eyes and trained eyes on the job to make sure everything's going the way it should.
Well, let's talk about that training. You talked about certification. I mean, what makes you the best person to go out and tell someone if they're doing something right, or a professional builder, for instance,
right.
you know?
So they're just like so the state licensing board requires every contractor, well, the honest ones, to get licensed by the state. So we have a International Code Council who does the same for code enforcement and for building regulations. So that's who we test under. They have a set of books. They got exams you take, and that's what it runs through. Now, these books go from 300 pages, and there's some that's 900 pages, depending on what classification you're going for. It starts off with building inspectors. It starts off with electrical inspectors. It goes into plan review, so when we get a set of plans in to start construction, there's a lot of times stuff's missing or something's not up to code, and instead of waiting until the last minute, you know, when they're building it, somebody put all their money into it, we try to catch it on the front end, so that's part of it. And then you got your kind of zoning. You can get zoning verifications, property maintenance, and housing stuff, and that's what we test under. And then just like the state board, there's continuing education as well. You got so many times during the year you got to get these.
You have to keep it updated and learn all the new stuff.
You do trainings to get your education units, and that's how you keep your license active. And your because we're actually licensed through the state to do building inspections, but we're certified nationally. So really, anywhere in the country you wanted to go to do these inspections, if you got these certifications, they pertain anywhere. You can use them in any jurisdiction. There's even private entities that have these same roles, and they do it in certain jurisdictions, to where they don't have building departments, but they still offer the inspection services or the plan review services and things like that.
So every building inspector like that in the country has gone through the same training that you have. They've taken the same test. They have the same knowledge that you have.
Correct.
I mean, I would assume that in South Louisiana, you have different building techniques than you would in say Montana or Wisconsin, you know, way up north. But you would, but building is building.
Right. So in some states they have, well, in every state they adopt the codes that we enforce. So here we're currently under the 2015 international codes, and in some states they have their own. Like Florida's a prime example. They have their own building codes. Now they still reference the I codes, but they have they're even more strict than what the international codes are, and most of that is the coastal areas and stuff like that. They got more requirements for wavelengths and things like that they got to abide by for those impacts.
That some other areas don't have to worry about.
Right, and it's different impacts for different areas. You know, with earthquakes isn't really a thing here. Some places you go have certain requirements that they got to meet for those type of things.
Well, I do remember a few years ago when you yourself were going through the certification process. You started papering the wall in your office with all of the
Yeah.
different certifications that you had. You had a bunch of them.
Yeah, I have 27 now, and a lot of them, I self-studied for, and they're relatively difficult. But once you get into the books, they tell you all the time in some of these classes we go to, you'll never memorize everything in those books. The main goal is to figure out where it's at in the books, to where you can find the answer relatively quickly, because it's a pretty fast-paced
Yeah, and I
exam.
see in the room for all the inspectors, you got your library in there that they can go back and refer to all the time.
So we have a lot of things come up that was built, say, in 2008 or 9. Well, obviously the requirements back then were different than they are now, because every 3 years they come out with a new code cycle. Now the state of Louisiana, we're in the 15 now, so we're pretty far behind, and we just got into that 2 years ago, so we'll be in that for another 4 years. So if we have an instance that comes up, whether it's a homeowner got an issue with a house that they don't think is code compliant, we have those reference materials from that time where we can go back and say, well, then yes, this was acceptable. That's what was according to code. And then if it's not, we can just kind of give our guidance on that. But that's what we keep those kind of books for. And then we have other reference materials, wood frame construction manual. There's greater standards than what the code tells us, because the I codes are strictly, they're just the bare minimum that you have to get approved. But there's always more. And some of those reference materials is that more that you can do to enhance the product that you're building.
So you don't really have anything to do in the permitting process right now, huh? Y'all strictly do the inspections, or
No, we do.
How does all that work?
So the building department is put together, I call it, in 3 different sections. You got the permitting, the inspections, and then plan review. So the permitting, one thing about the building department is we don't deal with just construction. So if you live in Ascension Parish and you buy a house and the electricity's turned off, the power companies here require you to get a permit to move into that house to get the electricity turned back on. So that's an occupancy permit. That's a big bulk of what we do. You have a lot of people moving into new mobile homes. That's the same thing, occupancy permits. We go out and check the electrical, mechanical, and the plumbing on those. So that occupancy permits, you have the construction permits. We deal with trailer parks. They have a certain set of standards. They got guidelines they got to stay in. So we deal with those. And then, so permitting and the plan review, like I was mentioning earlier, that goes into the whole, when you're doing a project, whether it's building a house, remodeling a house, whatever you're doing, you submit a set of drawings basically showing what you're going to do. And we do our best to make sure that you have all the information up front. That way you don't go and spend a bunch of money on something that either is not going to work or it doesn't meet the code. So we do that for every building permit that comes through here is required to go through plan review. And then the inspections, currently we have 4 inspectors who go out and service the parish. We break it into areas, so the guys that are going to these certain areas, they get to know the contractors there, and the homeowner who's building the house in those areas, they kind of form a relationship to where they get a cell phone number. Hey, I got an issue. Can you come look at it? What are your thoughts on it? Like I said, we have 4 inspectors, and one of them's actually the supervisor, so they kind of make sure everybody stays on track with what everybody's kind of enforcing the same thing. Because like I said, in those codes, it's a vast amount of stuff, and that's one of the things that we got to make sure we're keeping all the contractors on the same page. Everybody's getting what they bargained for. So that's basically how the department's broke into a few different groups.
Speaking of all that, I mean, one of the reasons that this governmental complex was built was to consolidate all of these different offices into one building, so people who needed permits and building it was a one-stop shop.
Right.
They could come into this one building and not have to go there and there and there and there and there. But now, y'all have made that even easier by being able to do a lot of this stuff online.
That's correct. I would say probably 80% of our permits now are processed online. That was a big thing we did about 2 years ago, back in 2018, when Mike Abear was still a building official. That was something that he and I worked on. It took some time and effort because you had a lot of I call them the old school contractors who, you know, they weren't used to that. So we had to train our people, the people out in the public, homeowners who've never done it before. It's easier for them to come in, hand you stuff, and you kind of go back and forth. Well, when you give them the option to do it online, you don't have that interaction like you normally would if they're sitting right there in front of you. So we got on the website, you can find a user guide that actually My Government Online, who's the program's through, they put together this user guide, and it's literally step by step, and it tells you from the time you create an account till you finish the project on what you need to do, how to make your payments, how to submit documents. And when you bring that up, that was a big deal when this COVID started. So back
it helped a lot during
tremendously.
the pandemic.
So back in March, I think it was the 13th actually, we were all told, hey, we got to work from home. Okay, so my
you
first
can't
question.
inspect a building from home.
That was my first question. We can't inspect from the house. That kind of defeats the purpose. So we did some other measures for that portion. You know, the guys social distance, wore a mask. It was something we couldn't stop. You know, we tried it, and we got so many phone calls. You know, people's got construction loans and all kind of stuff that didn't stop. You know, so it'd have been a much greater issue if we'd have just, hey, we're freezing.
Well, I know in the governor's original order, home construction was considered an essential service, an essential business, and that was allowed to stay open. And if home construction is going to go on, they got to get their inspection. Now, you guys, you did it. You took care of your workers pretty well. Mm-hmm. Whenever they called and requested an inspection, it said, okay, everyone has to leave the site, and my inspector will go in there and do his inspection, and then you all can come back.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the public and the contractors did a tremendous job. They were fully understanding. You know, I don't think we had one issue with too many people on the job. Because, you know, some of these schools and the hospital they're building, there's 200-300 people out there when they're rocking and rolling. So it's a lot of people that, you know, you got to tell, hey, give us an hour. Even the courthouse, you know, give us an hour. We just need to get in here, do what we got to do, and get out. But like I said, we didn't have one issue. They were all understanding, you know. They were just glad we were back, you know, because the thought of us not being able to inspect, they were mildly upset. But going back to the COVID thing, you know, so we were able to have our permit technicians work from home. So they're still processing the permits. That program allows us to communicate with planning and zoning, with the sewer department, with the one-stop shop thing. We're all on the same program, so we can communicate back and forth to help the customer. You know, what do you need a sewer permit? You need a address verification. You need to get your zoning looked at. Those different types of things are all handled online now. So all of our employees in the building department and the planning, it's not hands-on for the contractor or the homeowner anymore. They submit all their things. If we need something, it's just an email to them saying, hey, submit this for us, or here, make this payment. And we issued over 700 permits in that month between March and so March 13th to the following month.
700 permits.
Correct.
Just and during COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
during the
over 2,000 inspections we completed in that month that we were told to work from home. So we stayed busy, and
with 4 inspectors.
4 inspectors. Now myself, I had to go out a few times, you know, because when you're having to wait for people to clear buildings and things like that, it takes up time. So we had some other employees that are certified pitch in to help, you know, and that's one good thing about having the certified people is just because your job duty may be reviewing plans, if you're certified to do inspections, when times like these come up, that's a real asset to the department.
To be able to step in and pick
instead
up
of 4 guys, we may have had 5 or 6, and then you can knock out a pretty good amount of inspections and still do them correctly, you know, because that's one of the things. Yeah, you may be able to do 60, but are you doing them right? Or are you doing it to the full capacity? Mm-hmm. And that was one thing that helped us. So yeah, the online permitting thing has been a tremendous help. We've been getting a lot of good feedback from it. We're still constantly being kind of edited, trying to see how we can adjust a few things here and there to make it easier for the public to use. That's one of the things that we get a lot is the user side of it's a little difficult to navigate, but My Government Online does a great job of.
All right, so you said that before. Let's make sure everyone knows that is mygovernmentonline.org. Mygovernmentonline.org is the site. It's a free site. It's a free service.
Yep.
You just need to go in and you need to create an account.
Yeah, you create an account.
And you're not going to be giving them credit card numbers or all of. You're just creating an account for you to get in on. And you can
access all the documents, all the information.
Get a permit. You can file your plans through that site. You can request inspections on that site. You can do all of that through mygovernmentonline.org.
That's
just go in and create your free account.
That's correct. The only thing that we haven't gotten on there yet is the licensing for contractors, because any contractor who does work here has to be licensed in the parish. So there's documents they got to submit, bonds and insurances and things like that. That's still done. If you go on the website, we have an email address. It's called buildinginfo@apgov.us. That's an email address that they can send those documents into, and we put it on their licensing to where it's still limiting the amount of people coming in because the COVID's still around, so we got to still take those precautions. So the foot traffic in the office is tremendously less, and it's solely due to the online permitting and then the ability to submit other things via email. And it's been helping out a lot.
So what's the count now? I mean, how many on average, how many inspections do each of your guys do a day?
It varies on each, because like I said, in the areas it depends on what's going on that day. As a whole, it ranges anywhere from 80 to 85. Right now, this time of the year is normally when it starts picking back up. So in the middle of the summer, we sometimes look at 115 and 120 in a day that we got to complete.
Incredible.
Right. And a lot of them, is construction and subdivisions and things like that you can knock out a pretty good bit of them. They're next door to each other, but it's still, you got travel time, you got still have to do your not paperwork anymore, but on their iPads, do all their documentation, things like that. So it's time consuming, but it's.
Now, and on this site, can I go on the site and it'll tell me whether I need a permit or not? I mean, I can, depending on what I'm trying to do at my house, do I need a permit?
We had a document on our website that did that, but it was kind of vague, and it's very situational, but all it takes is a phone call up here. Any structure that you're going to build on your property over 200 square feet, an accessory structure, has to be permitted. Other things, it's kind of...
So even a shed?
A shed, correct.
A 20 by 20 shed is 400 square feet, and so that requires a permit.
And then if you go on that website, when you hover over the building department, there's actually 3 or 4 more tabs that pop up, and it's broken down into permitting. If you click on that, it has metal residential structures, pole barns, and it tells you the requirements of what you need for those structures. As well as electrical permits.
And all of that is on the Ascension Parish website. It's
correct.
on ascensionparish.net, and when you click on the tab for, you look for the government, department, building department. When you click on building department, all of that information comes up.
Correct.
Yeah, and it does. It has a list of the different types of structures and what you're looking for and what is required.
On there, you'll see plan review requirements. Depending on what project you're doing, it'll tell you what the requirements for that project are as far as what documents you need to submit. The inspections, I've created a few documents on what inspections you need so for these people that build their own houses, which is a lot. I mean, we have a lot of homeowners who contract their own houses out, and a lot of the questions are, when do I need to get this? When do I need to get that? Because that's very important. Because if you, like for a framing inspection, we got to inspect all the walls. If you got the sheetrock up, then we got a problem. If you don't get the foundation inspected, you pour concrete, that's another huge issue. So that was very helpful for them to know when they need to call these inspections in. And that's something we integrated onto My Permit Now on the website. Is it shows a list of requirements, and it goes into when you need to make a payment, when to schedule an inspection, when you need to upload a certain document, So there is that list of requirements on the website as well now, not just on our building department page.
And what kind of turnaround time are we talking about? If I need an inspection and I contact your
So-
office, when can I expect, if I call you today, when can I expect
Okay.
one of
So
your
if
guys
you-
to come out?
If you call today before 3 o'clock, we go out the next day. On Fridays, if you call before 10:30, we'll go out the following Monday. So what that does is allows from that 3 o'clock period to 5 when we get off, the inspectors can look over their stuff for the next day. Because if you have 40 inspections, they have to check each one of those projects to make sure they got all of their permits, all their documents before they just go out there and do the inspection. There's a preliminary process that they have to complete, as well as a process after they go out there. So that window gives them time to catch up and really look over what they got to do for the next day. So before 3 o'clock on today, you can get it for the following day.
You'll
tomorrow.
get it the next day. If you call after 3 o'clock,
It'll
it's
go
2 days.
2 business days.
Right.
That's correct. And
Okay.
that's
So Thursday afternoon at 4:30, you get it Monday.
that's correct.
Okay.
Now, one thing we stopped doing was after hours call outs and things. So if we have a foundation inspection that you got concrete scheduled for Saturday, it's supposed to rain Sunday, just give us a call. We'll try to send somebody out there. We're a little lenient on that because, like I said, if you got a lot of concrete lined up and you can't get the inspection till Monday, we'll do what we can to make sure somebody can get out there. That way you can still go
You do
ahead.
try to work with them
Correct.
as best you can, but
Correct.
otherwise, because I know some people were really taking advantage of that. They were
Right.
calling you guys out there in the evenings or,
Right.
or early
Well,
in the morning.
the bigger
or-
thing is, we were going out there and it's dark. I mean, it's not a comfortable feeling for an inspector to go there and you can't see your hand in front of your face. You use a flashlight, but it's just not safe. And then you do a much better job when you can see, obviously.
Sure.
So that was one thing. That was the bigger driving motive to. And then, like you said, people taking advantage of it. We use it for emergency purposes, and then it just snowballed into anything they can get an inspection on. So, but we haven't had any issues since we stopped doing the after hours. Like I said, we try to accommodate as many needs that the contractors have, and it's been working really well. So,
It sounds like you have everything well in hand. You know what you're doing. You know
Yeah,
what you're doing. It really does protect the people, and
yeah, we're constantly looking at ways to improve. There was a time that we made a lot of changes, and I think it's finally the dust is settled. As far as how the permitting process went, the things that you needed. There's always something from other departments. They use us as a tool to get things they need, documentation or just different things. So all that stuff kind of plays in hand with it. So it's been a learning experience, and it's been fun.
yeah, that's terrific. So what did we forget? You sound like you pretty much covered
I think we covered most of
everything.
it.
All of the notes that I had here.
Right.
And the website ascensionparish.net has a lot of very good information. And then I set up an account in mygovernment.org, mygovernmentonline.org, and it was pretty easy to
Yeah,
navigate
and
through.
that account that you create on there, you can do all sorts of things from there. That not just our department utilizes that. I mean, they got utility requests. I think you can make on there, mosquito requests. I know I put in a mosquito request for my personal house, and I did it through my government. It's the same. You can use the same account that you create to do a permit. So if you create an account, there's multiple uses for that. You can, like I said, mosquito requests. I know a lot of it's funneled through the call center, but when you go online to do it, it does bring you to that My Government page too. So like I said, that account will service you for the permits, mosquitoes, whatever kind of request you have that you're going to do online is funneled through that channel.
And I know when people want to call you, if they need to call you, they can always call the Citizen Service Center at 225-450-1200.
Right.
I mean, we always push that. Is there another number
Yeah,
that
we
people can
have-
call you at?
We have a number, it's 225-450-1002, and that'll ring. There's 4 ladies that sit in the front windows that greet the public, and that's who it rings, those 4 windows. And they'll transfer you to the building department, planning, zoning.
So 450-1002,
Correct.
that's the number
That's
if they
the building
really need to
department
call in. But I know we encourage people to do things online, and really it's very
Right.
simple, very
Right.
easy to do
And we
things
still
online.
we still allow you to commercial permits have to be done online. There's other entities that are online, so that's how you gotta just take the documentation. But residential customers, we do still scan in plans and do the paper stuff. If that is the only option that you have, we do still offer to do that for you. But online is definitely a lot easier for all parties involved.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for the information.
problem.
Thank you for the service that you provide to the people. I really appreciate you coming in and telling everyone about it. And you know, as updates happen or as new things come on, we hope to get you back in the studio.
Absolutely.
And we can make sure that everybody is updated on what's going on in Ascension Parish and the way that the building department is protecting them and making sure that they're usually their biggest investment, the home,
Correct.
is exactly that they get what they're paying for.
That's a fact. That's our main goal.
Well, thank you, Darren Duplessis, Chief Building Official of Ascension Parish. Thank you for joining us for another one of our departmental profiles, and we encourage you to stay tuned for all of the great information on Ascension 21.